Hey, Kate, what did you eat last night?
I ate the most amazing black dal that I made in my Instant Pot.
Really?
Yes, and I thank you for this idea because you were the one that told me basically that black dal was a thing, that it existed. These little tiny, tiny black dal beans that are often called, what is it? Not caviar, beluga? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Beluga, because they look like caviar. And next time I make it, I'll totally double it because it really doesn't make enough to save because it's so tasty. And it has tomato paste in it, which I was worried would scorch because sometimes in the Instant Pot, if you have too much heavy tomato stuff and it has a whole can of tomato paste, and I thought, oh no. But I've made it twice now and it's fine. And it's got all these interesting sort of sweeter spices in it. It has all the things that you would expect in a dal. But it doesn't have turmeric, but it also has star anise and cloves and cinnamon and cardamom. So it has the sweeter spices as well. And it's so easy. You just throw it in. And it also comes in a version. The recipe comes in a version that's a 24-hour version that you make in the oven overnight in a Dutch oven.
What?
Yeah. So the blog that created it has done a taste test, and there's pictures and everything. And I love how honest she is. She's like, obviously, the 24-hour one is way better, but the other one for something you can whip up in a half hour is amazing. And it really tastes like you spent hours making it on the stove. And my friend Jennifer came over for dinner, and she got an Instant Pot but can't figure out how to use it. And so I wanted to make that for her because I thought it would be something that she would make at home. So I thought, okay, we're going to make this. You're going to watch me make this so that you can then make it at home. And she absolutely loved it and was blown away by how incredibly intense the flavors were. And it's based on a recipe from a restaurant in London called Dishoom, which is known for its black dal. And unfortunately, I haven't tried yet because the last time I was in London and tried to go there, the line was too long and we had a show to catch. So it's on my list for next time I go back to London. We're like going to plan a day where we can go and wait however long is necessary in line.
Nice. God, that sounds so great.
Yeah, it was it was completely amazing. Yeah.
I wonder what the 24-hour one, I wonder what temperature it'll cook for at 24 hours.
Well,
for 24 hours.
Basically, I think you start it on the stovetop, obviously. You cook the onions, you cook it, you start it normally, and then it just sort of sits there in the Dutch oven at a really, really low temp. I want to say 2 something. I don't remember what, but definitely super low for overnight.
I want to try that now. Right now.
Imagine how good your apartment would smell, too.
Right?
I loved it. How about you? What'd you have?
Well, I had a rigatoni, and it was not just a normal rigatoni. I went to what I do believe is the first upscale vegan restaurant that I've ever been to. And it's this place called Blossom in New York City that I went to the last time. And this restaurant had been there for a long time. I'd wanted to go there years ago, never made it. And so I finally got there. And I had to say, it was so tasty because they made everything there themselves. Obviously, the pasta was made there themselves. And it was basically a really simple rigatoni. It had porcini. The main thing it had was a porcini cashew cream. And I remember thinking, I remember making cashew cream once. I don't remember what I used it for, but I remember making it and thinking it was really good. And this was the main component in the dish that was really, really good. It clung to the noodles and it had tons of flavor. And then they also had leeks, broccoli rabe. They had pistachio gremolata. And they had a lot of truffle oil in there and white mushrooms. And there was a lot of truffle oil. Even when I ordered it, the waitress says, there's a lot of truffle oil in it. You got to like truffle oil. And boy, was there. But it was super tasty. I was so pleased because, vegan food, I'm always a little bit wary of when I sit down to eat it. But boy, was it tasty.
All I can think about is the chopped judges whenever anyone brings out truffle oil going, no, don't do it.
Don't put it on at the last minute.
It's going to ruin everything.
And I see why.
I had some for a while, and I used to put it on popcorn, I think, with Parmesan or something. But that was about it. But that sounds delicious. The cashew mushroom combination, I bet, was really great.
Yeah, it really was. And I'm like, it's one of those things I eat. And I'm like, why am I not making this making more of this in my own life at home? It's so simple. So flavorful. And the truffle oil is great because it does add a lot of flavor. But I'm looking forward to trying more vegan things. Hello and welcome to another episode of You Will Believe What I Ate Last Night. I'm Rick.
And I'm Kate.
And this is our ongoing conversation about food, health, weight management, and our endeavor to be and stay healthy in a really tasty world.
With love, kindness, and compassion towards ourselves and others.
So if you've been a longtime listener, you know one of the things that Kate and I like to do, and one of the reasons we started this podcast, is to talk about the food that we eat, but we also like to travel and eat and then talk about our food and our travel. So we're always excited to do that, and this is a great opportunity for us too.
Yeah, really, all we ever want to do is travel. Like, it's our favorite thing. And discovering new food when we travel, as you know, is something that we really love. So we had the opportunity to do this on a recent birthday trip that we took to Belgium to celebrate my birthday.
Woohoo! Woohoo! Birthday in Belgium?
Yeah. So the first stop on our Belgium trip was Brussels. Mm-hmm. And we had this lovely Airbnb that was really well situated and in a really great part of town. And we're going to tell you about all the amazing things that we ate in Brussels.
So if you're a longtime listener to the podcast, you'll know that our audio quality is generally very, very good. But this episode is going to be a little bit different because we were recording live in Belgium, from Belgium.
On
so
location.
You'll notice there's going to be on location. It's going to be a little bit different, so we hope you'll bear with us in any of those glitches.
Yeah, but you know, when I listen to other podcasts and I listen to the terrible audio quality, I'm always like, we almost don't even need to apologize for that because a lot of people just put that out all the time. But yeah, so this is not our normal standard.
None of them do. I was listening to a Terry Gross episode on NPR where someone's phone went off during the interview like a star's. She didn't apologize. They were like, ha, 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 and went on.
Right. Well, such is podcasting. So here we are, and I hope that you enjoy hearing about what we ate in Belgium. So, Rick.
Yes.
What have you eaten in Belgium?
It appears I've eaten a lot of frites. a lot of frites. They're pretty spectacular here, I have to say. So why don't we break down what's so special about a frite here?
Well, and it depends, because some of them aren't. So the first ones the first place we went, because that's what I have a client who is from Brussels, and she said, the frites are amazing. And I was like, yes, I hear about also the chocolate and the frite. And she was like, yes, the chocolate is amazing, but you can get Belgian chocolate other places. You can't get the frite anywhere else. And I was like, good point. She goes, but you have to go to the right places. And I'm like, well, thanks. Now what? How do I know where to go? Because
I'm differentiating between frites and probably some of the other things we had, which are French fries.
Well, I mean, I think frite is just French fries, but some of them are better than others.
Yes,
and so the best ones are double or triple cooked or whatever. So the first place we went was this, what appeared to potentially be a giant tourist trap. And so we almost didn't get them from there because it was huge on the corner of the main square.
Long line,
but there were a lot of people speaking actual Belgian languages, like French and Dutch there. So it wasn't just tourists probably, but it did have that touristy look to it. And they come in a giant cone, and they're traditionally served with mayonnaise, although they have lots of other kinds of sauce. And they serve them with this little tiny plastic fork. Because they're classy here.
Very classy.
Yeah. And so my understanding is that they're either par-cooked and then fried once and left to cool, or they're just fried once and left to cool, depending on who you talk to about how it's supposed to be done. And then they are refried at a higher temperature right before serving. So that adds this layer of crispiness.
That's on the outside that just makes it so heavenly.
They really, really are exceptional. I feel like I've probably a few times had fries that good at home, but it's rare. And they're certainly not your average restaurant fries by any stretch.
And the thing about the crispiness is the crispiness tends to find its way across the entire French fry when it's done this way. Because a lot of times at home I feel like, the ends are going to be crispy.
Yeah.
But that's about it, but not the middle.
Well, they're cut really evenly to make that happen, and they're all relatively even sizes, and they're thick. They're not like the shoestring fries.
No.
And the inside is so steamy and moist, and the outside is so crispy, and that's what makes them amazing. And, of course, the sauce. And if you've never had fries with mayonnaise, even at home, I mean, that's awfully good.
Yeah. And I've always felt like I've been able to be... I'm always sitting at restaurants and I'm always like, gosh, I just don't want to stop eating fries. But I've never felt that as much as I have here with these particular fries.
And we've been fairly disciplined, I have to say.
I would agree.
Really, because we shared the cone of fries. Them. And we were concerned because of the mayonnaise, right? Because they just dollop all this mayonnaise on the top. And we're like, this is going to be challenging. We're going to run out of mayonnaise. And all of the ones on top
are going to have the mayonnaise. None of the ones at the bottom are going to have any mayonnaise at all.
And yet...
there was plenty of mayonnaise to go around.
Yeah. We decided it was almost as though they knew what they were doing here in Belgian Friesland.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And the only place it got messy, and this is the only recommendation we have for you, Belgium, is that the cone shape. It's a long cone. There's lots of fries down at the bottom of that cone. And by the time you get down to those fries at the bottom, there's a lot of mayonnaise lining the inside of the cone because that's where it's been spread. So when you stick your tiny fork down there to get those small pieces left over, your hand gets coated. In our case, sometimes our jacket sleeves got coated in mayonnaise.
Yeah, we had to abandon the bottom of the cone, basically, because it was just too much.
It's too much. Kate abandoned first, and I was like, I'm going to keep going. But then the fry wouldn't reach, so I kept trying, and then I was getting on my jacket. So we recommend longer forks.
Yeah, basically longer forks. Or perhaps we could develop the skill of learning how to tip the cone so that we're not actually shoving our hand all the way in it. I mean, there's also that. Possible.
Oh, my God.
So that was the first thing we ate here. And we were like, oh, I don't know if we should. And they were the best ones we've had. Yeah. They were amazing. So the place was called something Pappy's, P-A-P-Y. For anyone who goes to Brussels, and it's the giant touristy-looking Frites place
on the town square,
in the Grand Place, the town center square. Yeah, exactly. So that was the first thing we ate, and then we were not sad.
No, not at all. It was a good entree. They offer a lot of sauces too. So when we came, we decided to start just with mayo. Some people were doing just ketchup. There was also mayo and ketchup. Another sauce that was there that day was the Andalusian, was also on that list. And
which is mayonnaise and tomato and some spices.
Yeah.
And a little bit of chili.
And no one really knows why it's called Andalusian. I guess at a point in time they were just like, serve it the Andalusian way, but no one really knows what that is. And then there was also barbecue sauce was another one. The barbecue sauce I thought looked really good.
It was really dark.
Yeah.
There's a samurai sauce, which is also mayonnaise based and has spiciness to it. There's one called American, and we don't know what that is. We never asked.
Yeah.
There's mustard, which is delicious with fries, with anything acidic.
Curry ketchup, which is curry and ketchup. Yeah. I've never had curry ketchup, but
I have had curry ketchup, and I haven't had it here though, so it's not my favorite. But I mean, it's. Yeah.
There's another one called tartar, which I assume is sort of pretty much just like your general tartar sauce. Were there any others?
And there were, but I don't remember what they were. There was a whole bunch of them.
So for those of you that like dipping things in sauces, it's really a haven for you. It's really wonderful. I was so happy.
Yeah, so the Frites were a huge success.
Yeah.
Then we found this beautiful cocktail bar right down, like 3 doors down, basically, like down the block from where we were staying in Brussels, and Botanical Chemistry. And it's one of those fancy places where they have dry ice and smoke.
And they're lighting stuff on fire.
Yes, exactly. And every cocktail has its own glass for a reason. Like, there's a different reason for each glass, and they're all gorgeous.
Yeah.
And they were really reasonably priced for being fancy
I
that,
agree.
we thought. Yeah. And the first one I had was good, but it wasn't as good as yours. The one I had it had whiskey and Calvados and like a simple syrup with herbs and spices in it and a little chamomile, and it was good, but it mostly tasted like whiskey with a little spices in it. So it was nice. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't as impressive as yours.
God, I wish I could remember what I had.
It was called Fig 9.
Oh my God, Fig 9.
Fig 9
was awesome. Do you remember what was in it?
Yeah, I do, because I coveted it. It was gin, and a house-made fig liqueur,
right?
And a little bit of Reyes, like ancho chili liqueur. So it had the tiniest little kick. and then some kind of simple syrup or bitters or something that had another tiny sort of flavor, but bitters in there, I think, too.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, my God.
It was heaven.
And then it was topped with club soda. So
yeah,
mine was served with one giant ice cube, and Rick's was served tall, filled up with ice and topped with club soda or soda water, whatever.
I was so happy. I was so blown away by that fig liqueur, something I've never had before. And I thought when I ordered it, I remember thinking, this is going to go one of two ways. It's either going to be super strong and overpowered by the fig, or it'll be really nice. And it was really nice, and it was really subtle, just what you would want, I would think, in a fig liqueur.
Yeah, I feel like I've had things like that in the past, and I can never taste that part. And so this, you could really taste the fig.
Yeah.
It was really good. I mean, that was absolutely extraordinary.
And it was just that type of place, too, where the bartenders, they're like they like to be super creative. They really like to please you. They really like to make your drinks well. And they just like to make it look great, sound great, smell great.
Yeah.
And they treated us so well.
Yeah, definitely a craft cocktail bar.
Yeah.
Then we went to a restaurant called Big Mama.
Big Mama, great name, super small, seemed to be very local.
Mm-hmm. It was a neighborhood place serving traditional Belgian food.
Mm-hmm.
And we ordered the house aperitif just for fun, and it was champagne or cava or prosecco, I don't know, with a little teeny bit of lavender liqueur of some kind in it.
It was really interesting.
Which, normally I don't like things that taste like flowers, but it was subtle enough, and it was so pretty that it was really good up to the last sip, which then had too much of that lavender in it for me. But it was good up until the last sip.
Yeah, and again, one of those drinks that was curated really well with the amount of lavender that was in it.
Yeah. If you held it up to the light, you just saw like halfway down it got a little purple. Yeah. It was really pretty.
It was super, super beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And then I tried shrimp croquettes, which are a big thing here, which your friend had told us about to make sure we try.
Yes, that they are particularly made with this gray shrimp from the North Sea that you can only get here, and it's a real delicacy, and it's like shrimp and cheese. Croquettes.
Shrimp and cheese, and it's all, so basically the shrimp and the cheese are all sort of cut up and are shred. It's like shredded shrimp or mushed shrimp. There's no solid parts of shrimp in it, and then it's all in this sort of coated bread. I didn't know what kind of bread was on the outside, but it was so delightful, so small. The bread layer on the outside was super thin, fried, but God, it wasn't greasy at all. It was really super, super delightful. And it had some herb in there. I'm not really sure what the herb was. Once you bit into it, you cut them in half and you just ate it. And the cream just the cream cheese just the cheese just sort of melted in your mouth. And you just got the taste of shrimp all in every bite, which is what I loved most about it.
I was really sad that I couldn't taste it because they looked delicious. But the shrimp flavor, to its credit, I did check with Rick. I'm like, are there pieces of shrimp? Could I try the cheese around it? He's like, no. The shrimp pervades everything, which of course it should do.
Yeah, yeah.
So I didn't talk about the beautiful little salad that came on that plate. Do you remember?
Oh my God, yes. It was basically it says it came with a side salad. And so what it came with is zucchini strips, zucchini that had been stripped in circles, and the stuffed within that was carrot, was radish, and a little bit of lettuce. So just like this little round, what would you call it? Like a round?
Yeah, it's like they must have made it within a mold or something.
Yeah, a round mold.
And they lined the outside with the zucchini, so it became the container for the salad. And in it had like really artistically designed, like a little piece of endive sticking up and some carrots and some mush or something green, little bit of dressed green in there. And it was just all in this beautiful little package, and then you took it apart and ate it as a salad. It was so pretty.
And once you cut into it, the dressing just mixed right in, and it was perfectly dressed. So creative.
Yeah, it was lovely.
Yeah, I did not expect that.
And then I had a Belgian classic, which is a beef stew. I can't remember what it's called. It has a name, but it's a traditional dish that we've subsequently seen on every menu. It's a beef like Flanders stew cooked in dark ale and some kind of dark beer. And I chose it largely because I don't care for beer, and I thought this is the way I'm going to get the beer, is to have it in a beef dish, because I do like that. Like I've had Guinness stews and stuff like that, and usually I enjoy it, and I've been known to cook with ales and beers just a little bit with a beef dish. So the beef was really, really tender, and I was prepared for it to be gristly, and it was not. I ate all of it. Like, it didn't need any sorting out. And there was no vegetables, which I was surprised by. I expected it to have some kind of vegetables in the stew, like onions or carrots, but it didn't. It was just beef. And the sauce was interesting. I've never had a beef stew. It had a sweetness to it that came from whatever beer they used. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't a sweet dish, which I wouldn't have cared for. It just had a sweeter vibe because of the beer than any beef stew I've ever had before. So I'm really glad I had it. It was really, really tasty. And it came with frites as well that were mediocre.
Yes.
They were much more like what we get at home.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mediocre frites. And I just remember watching you eat it and the way you would just use your fork to break into those little pieces of meat.
Yes.
Like, that's how tender it looked in that sauce. I was like, oh, that looks like meat that would be really good, really tender, and easy to chew.
So tender. Yeah, exactly. It fell apart with a fork. It was really, really tasty. Beautifully done. Beautifully done. And then you had that weird thing.
I wasn't going to talk about it, but might as well. I ordered these it said veggie meatballs with tomato sauce.
It said vegetable balls, which we thought was funny.
Vegetable balls and tomato sauce. I'm like, all right. And they had a series of balls that you could have ordered. I just ordered the vegetable balls.
Yeah, and we assumed that they were going to be, like, at home, veggie meatballs.
Yeah.
Which are, meatball-shaped and stuff.
And they just come in basically a flat patty.
Yeah, they're croquettes again. They're a flat patty, breaded and clearly fried.
Definitely fried, and the breading was good. Like, it was a thin breading. It wasn't greasy. But you cut into it, and there were vegetables in there. I'm not really sure if I could identify what all the vegetables were in there. It definitely had some spinach in there. But they were just dry and needed a lot of salt. So when I started cutting them open, I would then sprinkle the salt. And I'd put a little bit of tomato sauce on there with it, but it really didn't help too much.
There were two things about it that I found peculiar, because that one I tasted. One was the lack of herbs. It had no herbs or seasoning of any kind. So that was weird. It needed just a little herbs in there of something, anything
would have solved it.
And then the texture was odd because it was like a puree of vegetables again formed into this croquette. And there was something in it that I didn't care for. I don't know if it was rutabaga, but there was something we don't normally have in that at home. But it had like a bitterness that, given the lack of seasoning, to me, I found a little bit off-putting.
Yeah. So just out there, avoid vegetable balls at Big Mama's.
At least at Big Mama's, yeah. But go ahead and go there, though. And, oh, my God. Well, here's what we didn't have is the mussels.
Oh, right.
Which are the classic dish. And it is everywhere, and it smells so good. And it's the only seafood dish that I've ever sat near that I love the smell of.
We've been in conversation about this all week because they're everywhere. You can't escape them. Big pots come out, lids on it. They pull the lid out, and then the smell just wafts out. And a lot of them will have maybe a little bit of cheese sauce at the bottom. Some will have like just a wine sauce. Some of them were on the menu with like a mushroom sauce and then like an herb sauce. So depending whatever sauce there was, that would just sort of add to the smell.
Various vegetables that they're putting in that broth. And it just smells like a really delicious vegetable broth. It's really aromatic and it looks amazing, and there's the particular vessel that it's eaten out of, and it looks like so much fun, and we just wish we wanted them.
Yeah, totally. Because I like them, but I only probably want one or two, so I've been looking for an appetizer version, which we have not found.
Interestingly, do not have here.
They really don't.
No, he needs like 5 or 6.
Yeah,
and that would do it.
Exactly. Because then ultimately, Kate would like to try probably the flavor of the juice at the bottom.
Yeah, I want to dip something into that liquid. That's what I want. Yeah, exactly.
And of course, they would also serve those with frites, which you would also wind up dipping in the sauce at the end.
Yeah.
Because, interesting, a lot of times when I've had them in America, they're always served with bread, not frites.
Yeah.
And of course,
right.
I'm not against dipping bread in that sauce. But
no, but they don't serve bread. But the dish is usually called moule frite.
Yeah.
Mussels with frite. And it's all I can do to not walk over to people's tables and stick something in the bottom of their pot of mussels.
And it's everything I could do, not just to walk over and be like, can I have 2? I just want 2. Dip them for me.
Exactly.
And hand them over to me.
That's it. That's all we need. Right. Well, we're not. Yeah, we're still here as we are doing this recording. So who knows? We might make friends with somebody eating moule.
Oh, God.
So all of that was the first day we arrived. So then the next day.
Oh my God. Little recovery.
We get up, we go into the next area that we're walking around, and we were thinking about going and sitting down for some kind of brunch or lunch or something, and it was close to lunchtime. We just didn't find the right place. We found this one place that looked appealing, but it smelled so strongly of pine sol.
Yeah, it smelled terrible.
That we had to leave.
Because they were just opening, and clearly they just cleaned everything.
Yeah.
And you know me, I'm all for a clean restaurant, but that was too much.
Absolutely, right. And my nose is so sensitive, I was like, oh, I can't say anything because I don't want to be the one that's like, we have to leave because I'm grossed out. But even Rick could smell it. It was grossed out. So we had to leave. So which was fine. So then we found this pastry shop that was the smell of it. It was just French pastries
really
that just smelled of butter, and it was amazing. And they had these little quiches.
So the little bit of a setup, we were standing outside the windows looking at all the quiches, all individual quiches, and thinking, oh, we could get that one. We could get that one. They all looked really good. And then we're like, well, let's just keep walking and see what else we find. Cut to the chase. We didn't find anything else. Because we go back to the quiche shop. And we're like, oh, let's get the quiches that we saw and that we wanted. So we go in. Kate orders her quiche, which they have. And then the quiche that I wanted was gone.
Yeah, they didn't have any without bacon. They all had lardon in them. Yeah. The fun thing for me was that I had an entire conversation in French, and I think the woman thought that I was from somewhere French-speaking because she asked for my zip code, and when I said it was in the States, she was like, oh, never mind. So she didn't immediately assume I was American, so I felt quite proud of that.
That's good. Yeah, that was good.
It was fun. Yeah, so I got this tomato and lardon quiche that turned out to have goat cheese. I don't think I picked the right one, actually, or I wasn't clear. And it was surprisingly disappointing. Like, it looked like it was going to be the best quiche in the world, but
it was in a little box. We're like, let's go sit down. We're so excited.
Exactly.
Kate's going to eat her little quiche in a nice little square.
Exactly. We're sitting which was actually, that
nice.
Part was charming.
We found a bench.
Exactly. But the crust was not that impressive. It was the tomato. It was it was all tomato. So it was just wet and not really seasoned, and the tomato wasn't particularly flavorful because it's November, and the only cheese in it was a little bit of goat cheese, which A, isn't my favorite cheese, and B, there just wasn't enough of the quiche custard because it was all just gooey wet tomatoes.
Yeah.
So
when I saw you pick it up, I'm like, wow, that crust is looking a little bit drippy for a quiche.
Yeah, so that was not as fun as we hoped, or as I hoped, but soon to be remedied by going to Pierre Marcolini.
I can't take it. I'm still suffering from this one.
Which is one of the premier chocolatiers of Belgian chocolate, which we have spent a lot of time shopping for Belgian chocolate on this trip. And Marcolini's is one of the major ones. And they have a tea room where they have, of course, hot chocolate.
God. So we go upstairs. We go up these windy little stairs. We're sitting at these cute little tables in this little bit of a round room looking out over this beautiful square. And we're like, let's order the basic house classic hot chocolate. So it comes in this...
They asked if we wanted it with or without whipped cream.
That was kind of them, yeah.
Exactly. And I was like, yeah, we want the whipped cream. Little did we know it was going to be chocolate whipped cream.
Oh, I know, right? So obviously they use whatever they use in their cocoa blend to make the chocolate, or for their chocolate blend to make the milk. And then on top of it was this chocolate whipped cream.
And then on top of the whipped cream were 3 little discs of very dark chocolate and 3 little teeny... I don't know what you'd call them. Like, they weren't macarons. They were little tiny pastry bites of some kind.
Yeah.
I don't know what they were. Like little spongy cakey things, sort of.
Yeah. And so the little round bits of chocolate, we both were in a conversation about, wow, do we just eat them off the top? Or do we push them down, soak them, and let them melt? So you'll be glad to know we tried both ways for you.
Exactly. So I ate 2 of them and let 1 melt in.
I ate 1 and let 2 melt in.
So there we have it.
So you melted and stirred. And we were drinking it, and it's so funny because the cup didn't have a handle. It was so hot. And we're like, how the hell are we going to drink from this? It's so hot. And then the top of the cup where the whipped cream was actually cool, so you could pick it up from there. And then
again, it's almost like they know what they're doing.
Exactly. We were like, oh, this is wrong. We're going to have to tell them about this. You can't serve a cup this hot.
Tell them about this. Excuse us.
And then you drank it, and the chocolate just kept getting richer and richer as it went down. And as you drank it, and as the cup got empty, you start to take another sip, and you would just start to see the chocolate covering the inside of the cup. It was so dark and so rich, the residue of the milk of the hot chocolate.
Yeah, I mean, you can check on our website. We took a picture of it. It was so amazing. Like the legs that it had, it just stuck.
Yeah.
And it was so rich and chocolatey. By far the best hot chocolate I've ever had. That amazingly, I couldn't even finish it.
Yeah.
And it was not a huge cup. It was a moderate-sized cup. And it was that incredibly rich and sugary.
And we both felt like we were sort of high from it. Or something. I was going on. Because I'm like, I was thinking to myself, this is what cocaine's like. I know it's not.
I'm going to say it's not, but I did feel high. Like I actually did feel like we felt a little trippy. Like we felt a little bit lightheaded, a little dizzy, but not super dizzy, but everything was a little bit more vibrant.
Mm-hmm.
It was
heightened.
Really amazing and a little bit just altered. It was... Yeah. I've never had that experience, and it wasn't just sugar. It wasn't just a sugar high, because gosh knows we've all had that. But there was something about it, and they describe one of the little combos you could get, which was like hot chocolate with 3 pieces of chocolate or something that they call the eye opener. And they talk a lot here about the energizing properties of the chocolate. So there's something about it in the form that they do it in that it really, and it wasn't just caffeine. It wasn't that either. It was really interesting.
Right. One of the other interesting conversations we had around that chocolate, I thought, was that whole idea of being satiated, right? This idea, like, I often think at home, sometimes after a meal, I'll eat, and I'm like, I always want some chocolate. And I know there's a vending machine in the base of my apartment building, so I'll go get a Snickers, and I'll eat it, but it never satisfies me. But this whole idea that when you have a piece of chocolate that is so delicate, so rich, so flavored, and it's so intense, you can only eat a small piece, that it satiates you. Yeah. And then it stops you from eating 10 of them.
Yeah. Yeah, because I bought a little chocolate praline also from Marcolini that is like a 2-bite thing. Yeah. And I had 1 bite of it one night, and that was enough. And I had the second half the other night, which is not typically my style.
That was amazing.
Yeah, and it was that good.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
So it brings up this whole idea of, like, when you think about sweetness and after dinner drinks and how do you stay healthier, the idea of maybe keeping in your house, right, really, really high quality chocolates where one will sort of solve your needs, and then you'll be done for the rest of the night.
And I have never encountered that, I don't think, although I do feel like these little dark chocolate drops like we had on top of that hot chocolate might do that. Mm-hmm. The closest I've come at home is Trader Joe's has these cacao nibs covered in really dark chocolate.
Right.
And a tiny little spoonful of those it does that for me. It satisfies my chocolate craving, and because it's not particularly sweet, it doesn't keep drawing me back for more.
Right.
And I think that's the key.
That's the key.
It can't be super sweet. Speaking of sweet, what did you have with your hot chocolate?
Oh my God, because the quiche was a disaster of trying to get a quiche, but it was so bad, I got a chocolate cake. It was this little square cake coated in chocolate, and it was a hazelnut cake with chocolate on the outside. And the chocolate was nice and firm. It was dark. It was super sweet. And then when you broke into it, the hazelnut piece of bread was just really, really delightful. It had a great texture. It didn't fall apart. It didn't crumble, but it was still really moist.
So because of the 7 pounds of butter in the one piece of cake was my guess, because I did taste that, and the butter just gave it that amazing crumb where it's sort of crumbly, but as soon as you put it in your mouth, like you just push it together and it compresses into a single thing because of all that amazing butter. Oh, and then coated in a dark chocolate. My goodness, that was amazing. And it wasn't even a ganache. It was like a coating. I don't know what it was, but it wasn't frosting. It was unusual again.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, but I could only, I really, one bite was all I could handle of that, but also I had just eaten some unfortunate quiche. So I wasn't hungry.
Totally. It's sort of also at this point that I think we started to realize that all of the waiters here are models.
Oh my God.
In their spare time.
And so nice.
So nice.
The people here in Belgium are, so far, really pretty much entirely nice. And it is, Brussels in particular is completely bilingual, English and French, and I guess trilingual because Dutch. But I found most places the servers would greet people by saying, bonjour, hello. And then whatever language they were responded to in, they would then start speaking that language.
Yeah, it's really wonderful.
Yeah, it's the languages that everyone can speak is super impressive.
Yeah. We also think that everyone's thin here, but we haven't quite figured out why yet.
Yeah, because they're eating with gusto. They're eating pastries and fries with gusto, and like people are enjoying their food.
Go crazy.
And we're here at a time that's if there are a lot of tourists, there are not that many English-speaking tourists. There's a lot of European tourists. I don't know, but there's a lot of locals it seems around too. And yeah, most people are really trim.
And the other thing that's so interesting about how they eat here is because it's windy, it's a little bit windy and it's been chilly. People are eating outside without heated lamps. They just literally will have a blanket. And there's literally, you'll see an entire family just sitting out at a cafe having a meal. And it's probably, 40 something?
It could be in the 40s, and the cafes still have their outdoor seating, and people are sitting at it. And some of them have heat lamps, but some of them don't.
Yeah.
And we were commenting last night, we're like, nobody eats outside in this weather at home.
No.
No, even in Chicago, where people get so excited in the spring, those tables aren't coming out till it hits 70, really.
Even today when we're walking through the square, we're like, let's find a restaurant to sit and have a drink. Has to have a heated lamp, though.
Yeah.
And there are plenty of chairs that didn't have the lamps, and people are at them. Yes.
Then, our last meal in Brussels, in our whole 2 days in Brussels, was at a restaurant called Chez Lyon, which a client of mine also recommended, who's from here, and said it's one of those places that serves really authentic food, and it's like a sort of stalwart. And you could tell it's super old-timey.
Yeah.
The guy took our reservation by writing it in a book, and he was like an older guy. And I mean, it definitely had that sort of... It felt like an old-timey Chicago steakhouse in its vibe.
Yeah.
But it's not a steakhouse. But it had that, I don't know, there was something old-fashioned about it that was really charming.
Yeah, totally. The woodwork, and then also, I think weren't there green checkered tablecloths, I think?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And the big green sign outside that says, Chez Lyon. I'm like, oh, and it's in a popular place. You're like, oh, is it another tourist trap?
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't have picked it had it not been recommended by someone from here.
Agreed, 100%.
Yeah, because it looks like Senior Frogs almost. Like it's going to be like that. But it was not. No. Oh my goodness. So
it was really great.
We had, the cheese version of the shrimp croquette, because I was still so envious of Rick's croquette from the night before, that I got the cheese croquette. We got those. And oh my gosh, they were so good.
Really good.
The outer part, the shell, was so thin. And the cheese was really flavorful, and it's just gooey. And they serve it, I've never had this before, with a whole pile of deep-fried parsley.
Yeah.
Not Italian, not flat leaf parsley, the curly parsley, which we don't even eat that much in the States anymore. Because it came with this huge thing of parsley. We're like, what's with all the parsley? Yeah. And then it turned out it was fried, and we're like, oh, well then.
Yeah, because I've only had sort of that flash fried kale sometimes that I adore. That's the closest I've ever come to something like that.
Yeah.
And I just kept gobbling that up. It was so good.
Well, and it's such a brilliant combo with the cheese, because the cheese has nothing in it but cheese and whatever. Like, it's sort of in a bechamel, it sort of seems like. So there's probably flour and maybe some milk in there, but... it's not just a cheese like a cheese stick or something. Like it's a sauce almost. But that parsley with it is really delicious to keep it fresh.
Yeah.
Then we got another house specialty, which was endive au gratin. So we were like, oh, this is going to be awesome.
I was really excited because we're always, whenever we go out to eat, we're always like, do you want to split an apple? And it's always like, well, I don't mind. I'm fine to split apps, but I don't want to take away any meat possibilities for you, Kate, if you want to get an app. So that's always a big part of our conversation.
And almost every appetizer in the world has either seafood or mushrooms or olives in it. So the problem is, I don't want to take those away from you. So usually we don't have shared desires for appetizers. Right. Exactly. So we're like, oh my goodness, it's this house dish. It's a Belgian specialty. endive au gratin. I can't remember what they call endive because apparently it's not what they call it in French, which was surprising. I thought it was. It had a whole other name that started with a C. So it comes and it's gorgeous.
Looks great. Little brown on the top from being oven roasted a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Bruleed, yes,
Yeah.
broil under the broiler, gratinade, I guess. And so I started to cut into it, and I just went, uh-oh. And Rick's like, what? And I saw something pink in there. I'm like, I think there might be meat lurking in here. Not only was there meat lurking.
It had taken over and bread.
It had a little bottom layer of endive, and then it had like a pound of ham. Sliced ham on it, and then the most amazing cheesy cream sauce and covered in cheese, and it was brulee.
See, and then there's always the conversation Kate has to have with me, which is, do you want to try this? I don't think the ham is completely infested into the entire dish.
But then I tasted it.
And it was.
I'm like, oh no, it's infiltrated everything. Every single piece of this tastes like ham. Because sometimes it doesn't. But sometimes I'm like, no, this is totally hamtastic.
Yeah.
And it was surprising because they didn't mention it in the ingredient list.
No.
And it tasted more of ham than it did of endive. Like you could barely notice the endive.
And it's like there's more of the ham than anything else they described on the menu.
Yeah, it was really a ham dish.
It should have been ham with some...
Exactly. So I ended up sort of scraping the sauce off the ham and just eating the rest of it and leaving the ham because it was still ham flavored. And I'm not even a ham person. It was good ham, but it's not even my favorite thing. So that was, I enjoyed it. It was surprising, but it was sad for Rick.
Yeah, it was really sad because I was so looking forward to it because I wanted something cheesy.
I know. And the cheesiness of it was really spectacular.
Yeah. And I ordered the vegetarian penne with a light cream sauce. And I have to say, I thought, am I really going to do pasta here? And I wasn't even sure if the pasta was made fresh. But let me tell you, it was such a good dish. It was an insane amount of pasta. It was cooked really well. And then it had this really light cream sauce that it didn't drown all of the pasta in it. I felt like it clinged really nicely to the penne. But then also it wasn't clumpy and it wasn't gooey. And then it just had a few vegetables in it. Nothing spectacular. Arugula? Oh, yeah, the arugula on top. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It was so satisfying and so tasty. It was such a great treat.
Yeah, and I was coveting at another table. There was an amazing looking carbonara. So that place obviously knows how to do pasta. And it looked like it was properly done again with the sauce clinging.
Yeah.
And I got something that's another, local specialty called, I don't know how to say it correctly, but it's something like votazoi. And it's this specialty, it's a stew, it's a chicken stew. And it's chicken with vegetables and a cream sauce. And so it came out, and I was not expecting the chicken to be on the bone. But it was served in a way that I'd never had before, which was, it was in fact on the bone, and it was a half chicken. It was the breast and the white meat and dark meat half, which I wasn't expecting that much meat either. But it was completely skinned. So they had trimmed it. So it didn't, because the thing I don't love about chicken on the bone in a restaurant is that you have to deal with the skin, and there's fat, and there's gristle, and there's a lot of stuff to be done. In this
dissecting.
In this case, they had done all the yucky part for me. And yet had left it on the bone, which imparts so much flavor when it's cooked. So it was brilliant, and it was delicious and moist, and it was a creamy sauce with, again, no herbs. I've been struck by the lack of herbs in general in the food here, or at least what we've ordered.
Yeah.
Because we haven't gotten the freaking mussels, which are all herb-tastic, apparently. And then it was just leeks and celery and potato and onion.
Yeah.
And it was absolutely delicious.
It looks so spectacular.
Yeah, I had the rest for breakfast the next day. It was so good because it was obviously a big meal. So that was amazing.
Yeah.
So that was Brussels.
So we highly recommend it. The people, the food, it's an amazing place. Amazing place.
Then we went to Bruges.
Which you will hear about next time on the second part of our Belgium What We Ate in Belgium podcast.
That's right. We have a multi-part situation here. We have the next part is going to be about Bruges, and then the third part is going to be a bunch of miscellaneous stuff about our traveling eating. So we have multiple parts coming your way, and
some really funny stories. Really funny.
Yeah, we really enjoyed Bruges as well. So hang in for that. And in the meanwhile, while you're waiting with bated breath for that next episode, please take a moment to rate and review our podcast. Wherever you're looking at it, listening to it right now, please go ahead and give us 5 stars. Go ahead and write us a review. Send us some questions. Send us some thoughts. Send us some of your travel stories. And who knows, maybe they'll end up on the air. That would be awesome. You can email us at youwon'tbelievewhatIate@gmail.com. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And our website that Rick does a yeoman's job of maintaining is youwon'tbelievewhatIate.com.
Thanks for listening. We love ya.